What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Kid Taj, and this is a pretty special video we have here. We're going to be talking about the 2003 NBA Draft, the top 5 players from it, as we did for years 2006 to 2013. Yes, we did all those years. I'm going to do 2014 to 15 to 16 at some point for sure, but I don't want to do 04 and 05 just because nothing is as important as this draft. The 2004-2005 drafts are kind of weird because I usually do this talking about the player, how they're doing now, and who's better right now. Because when I did the earlier drafts, I would talk about who was the best player at the time. But now that we get farther back, a lot of these players are past their primes, or some of them are still in their primes, or a lot of them are retired. So it's harder to gauge that, and instead I'd grade maybe the better career, which is why we're doing 2003, because there aren't really a lot of players that are that good in those two drafts. I mean, sure, there are some great players in 2004-5 drafts, but nothing comes close to this one that we're doing today, the 2003 NBA Draft. Let's get started at number 5. Well, number 5 is actually the really interesting one, because you'd think that behind the top 4 guys, we have such a strong top 4 in this draft that the number 5 guy is also going to be a really good player that's just slept on because these 4 guys in the top 4 are just so good. Well, that's kind of the case, but none of these guys were all of that significant. Some of them were, but there's a bunch of all-stars basically. And I'm going to read off the names of every all-star that are not the top 4 picks in this draft. We're going to start with number 6 pick Chris Kaman, and then number 18 pick David West, the 29th pick Josh Howard, the 47th pick Mo Williams, and the 51st pick Kyle Korver. Those are all the all-stars besides the top 4 players in this draft that I'm not the top 4 picks, but the top 4 on this list. So number 5 is any of those players, and while these guys were not exactly 9-time, multi-time all-star type players, franchise players, they all were very good, and there's one that stands above the rest, and it's just gotta be the 18th pick, who's now the Golden State Warriors power forward, David West. And this is just because West was more consistent than any of these other guys over the course of his career. He's been in the NBA a long time, and in his prime, he put up numbers of about 21 points, 9 rebounds alongside Chris Paul, who, obviously that's a very formidable tandem, and, those guys go to work. But there wasn't any other players. Like Kyle Korver, he had 1 all-star season. Mo Williams, he only had 1 or 2 when he was next to LeBron. And then Josh Howard, he barely had 1. Chris Kaman, he had, I don't know, but he wasn't all that good for those all-star seasons, and he was on the Clippers, so it's not like he was really doing anything because the Clippers have always been bad until recently. So yeah, I don't know why I'm spending so much time on number 5. No one cares about number 5. Let's get to the good stuff. Number 4 on this list is Miami Heat power forward Chris Bosh. Now, this is very unfortunate because Chris Bosh is a guy that is going through a lot. We don't know if he's ever going to play in the NBA again with the blood clot issues, and he failed his physical, and it's just all bad news. But Chris Bosh, as a career player, if he retired right now, he would probably be an NBA Hall of Famer or something like that, as an 11-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion, and he made it the All-NBA and All-Rookie teams once each. The guy averaged 19 points, 8.5 rebounds for his career. That's pretty solid, and he was a contributor on championship teams with LeBron James and Dwyane Wade, who were above him on this list. Spoilers. Now, Chris Bosh is just so much more versatile than people think. Because when you think of Chris Bosh, you think of the guy that played alongside Wade and LeBron, or the guy that was in Miami who was decent. I mean, I don't think people really appreciate Chris Bosh for what he is entirely. He's just a multi-threat big man. I mean, the guy, first of all, he can play either the 4 or the 5. He's 6'11", so you can slot him at both positions, which is incredibly valuable to any teams that like to make little matchups to disturb another team, because another good thing about Chris Bosh is that he's extremely versatile on the defensive end. As a guy that can play the 4 or the 5, he's quick enough to switch on to guards out in the perimeter. He can get out to guys in the perimeter like stretch bigs, and he's tall enough that he can defend inside as well and help defense at a faster speed than most other bigs in the NBA. Chris Bosh was actually really good for Eric Spoelstra in doing that as the 5-man or the 4-man, whichever one he had to play, since Miami, they didn't always have another big man, set in stone. Sometimes they'd have Birdman start or Udonis Haslem start, or, they had a lot of guys that came in there and got the starting spot at certain points in, that time where they had the big three in Miami. Chris Bosh was called on to do a lot of different things, play a lot of different roles on this team, and he did so almost seamlessly. Now we're going to go into number 3, and Carmelo Anthony is number 3, New York Knicks small forward, scorer extraordinaire. He's prolific in that respect, and Carmelo Anthony is actually not that far ahead of Chris Bosh than you might think. That's just me, because I think that Chris Bosh is more multidimensional as a player, but Carmelo Anthony, at least in his prime, Carmelo Anthony was absolutely unstoppable as a scorer. This is a guy that you had to pay attention to all game long, and you did, and he'd still burn you for almost 30 a night, especially in some of his best seasons. He was putting up to 29 points per game. Absolutely fantastic numbers. Carmelo Anthony's game was built around his scoring, and yes, he might not have been the best playmaker or team player, but he was so unguardable in that one aspect. He had the post game, he was big enough to go down low, and he also had a really good mid-range touch for a lot of his career, and he gained a 3-point shot in the middle of his career that, his 3-point percentages are way down the last few years, but for a couple years in the middle there, he did have a solid 3-point touch. And in New York, whether it be in New York or in Denver, the guy has still put in work wherever he's been. He's made teams a lot better in his career. In Denver, he was, I believe, in the Western Conference Finals at one point. Don't kill me if I'm wrong, because I know he's made the conference finals once. I don't think that was with New York. I think that he hasn't been there with New York, and that's just, I don't know what's going on there, but time's running out for Carmelo Anthony to do that. However, when you just look at the career stats, he's averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists in his career. Those are obviously Hall of Fame numbers, and while Carmelo Anthony probably won't end his career with a ring unless he becomes one of those guys that's ring chasing and just joins a stacked team so he can get a ring as a role player, he's still going to go down as a great player. 9-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA. That's a guy that can really play and that can really do some damage to your squad. Now we get into the conversation of all-time greats. Guys that will go down in history as all-time great players, easily Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame players, you name it. And we're starting with the number 2 guy on this list, and that's Chicago Bulls shooting guard Dwyane Wade, who was picked 5th in this draft to Miami, junior out of Marquette. Dwyane Wade, this guy has seen it all in his long NBA career in Miami, where he seemed to be a franchise centerpiece, franchise player. The guy had some just ridiculous seasons in the Miami Heat jersey, including seasons where he averaged 30 points, 7.5 assists, and 5 rebounds. Other seasons where he would put up 27, 7, 5, or whatever he was doing. Dwyane Wade had some phenomenal all-around play that was going on, and I don't think people know just how effective this guy was in every single facet of the game. Dwyane Wade would always be up there in the scoring charts. Yes, he had 30-point per game seasons, 27-point per game seasons, 25. The range is crazy. He's averaging 24 points per game for his career, but the assist numbers, he's averaging 6 assists per game for his career. He had seasons where he averaged 7.5 assists, more than one of them. Rebound numbers are also up there. He averages 5 rebounds for his career. He had a season where he averaged over 6 a game. And then steals and blocks. The defender that Dwyane Wade was just doesn't get enough credit. 1.7 steals per game in your career is absolutely phenomenal, and he had 2 seasons where he averaged over 2 steals per game, so he was always tops in the league when it came to steals and blocks. This might be one of the best areas of Dwyane Wade's game, and it always has been. Dwyane Wade is probably the best shot blocking guard of all time. averaging 0.9 blocks per game in his career. The guy had two seasons actually where he averaged 1.3 blocks, 2 seasons where he averaged 1.2 blocks, or at least one where he averaged 1.2 blocks, and several more where he averaged 1.1. He had several seasons where he averaged over a block a game, and that's a guy that's 6'4" getting a block a game. It's just not something that you see in the NBA today. And then you talk about efficiency. The guy was 49% from the field in his career as a shooting guard. That's also incredible. He had multiple seasons where he shot over 50%. He had a season in 2013-14 where he shot 54.5% from the field. The guy just knew how to get it done. He was efficient. He was a threat anywhere on the court. Great point guard, shooting guard, small forward, wherever you wanted to play him, he could do it. The guy could guard so many different positions. He was a playmaker. He was so much. And on top of all of that, he was a 12-time All-Star, 3-time All-Defensive Team, 3-time NBA champion, 8-time All-NBA team. He was the 2006 Finals MVP, 2004 All-Rookie team. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Career averages of 24, 6, and 5. Phenomenal. Now we're going on to number 1. It's been a long list, a long video, I know, but you just got one more guy, and we all know who it is. It's Darko Milicic. You know, that guy picked by the Pistons. It's LeBron James. Cleveland small forward LeBron James, yes. Picked first overall in this draft. High school player. They were saying the best high school player of all time, and well, he backed up his hype a little bit in the NBA, just a little bit, with career averages of 27.7 rebounds and 7 assists on 50% from the field and 34 from the three-point line. Wow, that's absolutely incredible. 27, 7, and 7 career stats. That is legendary. There aren't any players that have career stats like that. I don't think anyone has 27, 7, 7 as their career stats. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Oscar Robertson does. Wow, that's absolutely phenomenal. LeBron James, we know how great the guy is. It doesn't need to be said. 12-time All-Star, 3-time NBA champion, 6-time All-Defensive Team, 12-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Star MVP. I don't know why I said that, but he's also 4-time MVP, 3-time Finals MVP. The guy is simply the best player in our generation. He's done so much for the league, and Rookie of the Year from that draft class, I forgot to add that. He's just done everything. He's just been the best player in the league, you know, since then. I think, you know, Kobe, great player, and you could argue that a prime Kobe is better than a prime LeBron, and I get that, but there's just no one as balanced in all of the areas. When you talk about playmaking and rebounding and scoring all in one, and defensive play, there's no one like this guy as a point forward, 6'8", that can do everything, that can hurt you and win games and lead teams to NBA championships. There's just no one like that. No one on this guy's level, and that's why I think that he's the best player in this draft class easily, and the best player in our generation. Kobe Bryant, I don't know. I think he's a little better than Kobe. Career-wise. But hey, you be the judge. If you think I'm stupid for saying that, let me know in the comments section. Give me your top 5 lists down low. If you disagree with me on anything, I don't know why you would, because it seems pretty straightforward. But yeah, we all have our opinions. I do. I'm not telling you to believe in everything I say, just sharing what I have to say. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, an idea down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.